appreciate y'all who help supervise my situation out here on these YouTube streets that I don't be knowing. I don't be knowing what I'm doing. The whole time I thought I was live, y'all. I was going in. So I'm going to start all over again. Welcome to He Say, She Say Family Coach Live. I'm your host, Shar, founder of Law for Love, the most special place in the legal system in Atlanta, where we are building stronger families and stronger communities through truth and just breaking this divide between men and women. The gender wars stop here at Law for Love. And so once again, I thank you, family. Brother Red just called me to say, hey, you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm about like 3 slides into my presentation and I'm not even live. So y'all, I'm gonna laugh at myself so I don't cry. But thank you for joining. Thank you for joining me tonight. I promised last week that when we had this conversation about words, that I was going to be putting a lot of emphasis on the women, because there is a piece of our understanding oftentimes that we don't understand about our men when it comes to our words. And so, ladies, I am going in on you tonight. And it is going to be a little more leaning towards speaking to you about this. But I do want to say that this lesson does apply to men and women equally. Neither male or female is more responsible in this area. But I do feel from my seat in family law spaces that I've seen women do a lot more damage that is not being spoken about in open and public spaces. So I'm going in on you tonight, ladies. Fair? So let's dive right in. That's what you get based on what you're saying. Let's uncover what the scriptures are saying about this. And last week, we talked about your marriage being a garden. Y'all, I've been seeing some amazing language. Every time I open in the scriptures now, I'm in the book of 2nd Esdras, where the Most High is describing himself as a husbandman. So he's like the gardener, and then he creates us to be gardeners like him because we were made in his image. I mean, just some beautiful patterns in the scriptures about husbandry, gardening, planting, right? And so we talked about the men being the physical seed carrier, right? The seed that creates babies, that perpetuates life. But tonight we're talking about the seed of our words, which is spiritual seed. And so let's hop in and see what the scriptures are saying. And I want to begin first with this really, really big lie. I was first confronted by this lie somewhere in elementary school where somebody said something mean to me in school. And I went home and I told my mom because it hurt my feelings. And my mom said to me, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. And so I want to start tonight by confronting this lie, because words leave scars that last a lifetime. We have grown people walking around with wounds in their heart, in their mind, in their belief system over something that someone said to them when they were a child. And even more in the context of tonight's conversation, ladies, I need you to know that when men are calling my office about the wounds that they have carried in their marriage, they are continuing to suffer pain from things that their wives had said to them. And this is really, really important, ladies, because I didn't get this revelation until after about 9 years into my marriage. 9 years into my marriage, I had convinced myself that I was the only one in my marriage that had feelings. Why? Because my husband was built stronger and built tougher than me physically on the outside, because he didn't become emotional when we got into arguments. I convinced myself that I was the only one who had feelings and that I was the only one who was affected by words. And it wasn't until I realized and I accepted that he has feelings, and that the things that I said to him impacted him on a spiritual and an emotional level, that I begin to start being more intentional about not harming him with my mouth. So let the evidence show from the book of Proverbs, chapter 18, verse 21. That death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. This restatement of ancient Hebrew law is telling us that words are spiritual and produce fruit. Fruit is evidence. So the circumstances of our lives that we're speaking into, the things that we're saying about ourselves, the things that we're saying about our circumstances, the things that we're saying over our family, over our children, those things will produce fruit. Evidence from the things that we're saying is coming back. And I always like to share the example of the older woman I was talking to, a client, and right before we got off the phone, she was babysitting her grandson, about 3 or 4 years old. And she called that boy bad. Stop doing that with your bad self. I was infuriated. And I said to this elder, I said, please don't call that baby bad. You don't understand. He this, he that, I said, ma'am, I do understand. I said, but I want you to also understand that what you speak over this baby, you prophesying over his life. So therefore, if you are calling him bad, then what you are speaking into his future is badness. I was so thankful that the sister caught it. She caught it and she renounced what she had spoken over her baby. And she said, you know what? You're right, Shar. My baby is a good baby. I said, that's right. Why? Because we want to see goodness coming out of our situation, but we steady speaking evil over it. Well, guess what? This restatement of the law is showing us the spiritual power of our words. We're going to experience the evidence of what we said. That the evidence also show in the book of Proverbs, chapter 15, verse 4, that a wholesome tongue is a tree of life. So again, mirroring life and death being in the power of the things that we say. But here's the flip side of the proverb. A perverse tongue breaks the spirit. This is what I want to emphasize to the ladies. Yes, when our men talk to us greasy or angry, or they say mean things, or they're critical to us, it hurts our feelings and it breaks our spirit too. I'm not here to say that it doesn't. I am here, though, to say that we cannot look at our men and their outer appearance of strength and the brave face that they have to put on to walk out here in the streets of a society that hates them and fears them, and make a false assumption that we do not break their spirit with the way that we speak to them and the words that we say to them. And so this is another restatement of the ancient Hebrew law that teaches the spiritual power of words. Your words can and do break the spirit. A person can only take criticism so much before they finally become discouraged and disheartened. A person can only be told they no good for nothing. I don't even need you. People can only take that for so long before they get tired, before they lose heart. That is the power of words. Let the evidence also show in the book of James, chapter 3, verses 6. And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. The tongue is so set among our members that it defiles the whole body and sets on fire the course of nature. Is set on fire by this thing in your mouth, one of the smallest parts of your visible body. It's so powerful, it set your whole garden on fire, your whole house on fire, tear everything up, because we are not taught to be intentional with the words that we say. So these are 3 witnesses out of the scripts establishing the baseline. Here's another. Let the evidence show in the book of 1 Peter, chapter 3, verse 10. For he who would love life and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking deceit. Again, there's this spiritual connection between the things that we say and the life that we live, or the death and destruction that we experience. So we're not always seeing the connection between it's your mouth that's setting your world on fire. It's your mouth that's creating discouragement and discontentment. It's your mouth that's convincing this person, I can't do nothing right. I can't make her happy. Yes, ladies, I'm going in on us tonight. Because when the only thing that the brother here is I'm complaining, then he's not hearing any evidence of anything that's good about him that he brings to this relationship. So all of this evidence from the scripture, it is such a tiny sample of what the Bible teaches about words. So what I'm hoping is that we have established with, I believe that was four evidentiary witnesses, words are spirit. The question I pose to each and every one of us today, myself included, I'm never excluded from these analyses. I'm never excluded from the confrontation. I have to confront myself and go off on myself first before I go off on anybody. What type of words, seeds, are you sowing into your own life? A lot of times, I don't know how to talk to you because I haven't learned how to speak life over myself. I haven't learned how to tell me the truth. I haven't learned how to shut down imaginations that are causing me to feel insecure, things that I'm telling myself to perpetuate victim mentality. I'm not even telling me the truth. So what kind of seeds am I planting into my own life? What am I saying over myself? What type of word, seed, are you sowing into your husband? What kind of words are you planting into your wife? What type of words, seed, are you sowing into your children? My challenge to each and every one of us tonight is being more intentional about our words, what we're saying. The evidentiary standard is in Luke 6, verses 45. How do I know what type of word I have been sowing? A good man out of the good treasures of his heart brings forth good. And an evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart bring forth evil. For out of the abundance of a heart, his mouth speaks. So guess what I know about you? Based on what you're saying, I know how you think. Based on the words that you say, your words provide me with the evidence of what you are thinking about. It provides me with the evidence of your belief system. Because according to this teaching from the king, Yahusha himself, he said you either have some evil treasures that you're speaking out of, or you have some good treasures that you're speaking out of. But the evidence of the resource of your mind, where you meditate and where you spending your time thinking, I will know what you're thinking based on what you say. So this is why in marriage, when we say something greasy to one another, what we're really saying is, I don't love you. I don't value you. I wish I never knew you. and then we want to fix it real quick, right? With the whole, I apologize. But I'm sorry, there's one thing about the eye gates and the ear gates. Once you see something, you cannot unsee it. And once you hear something, you cannot unhear it. Yes, I can forgive you. But once you show me what you think about me, based on what you said to me, now I gotta find out Hold on, y'all, because like my house out of order with the smoke detector. So my son got his cooking privileges back today, and he is setting off the smoke detector, smoke detector in the middle of the live stream. Hallelujah. This is classic. This is classic. Are you gonna deliver this message in spite of what's going on around you? Yes, I will. I am going to stand flat footed and I am going to share this insight. So, so this is a very simplified illustration of our relationship to trees. The again, there are, I mean, I dare say hundreds of references to gardens and ministries. It is not even funny, y'all. There are so many agricultural references to our being as trees. So in this illustration, what I'm showing is if you turn us upside down. Now the house not on fire, but I'm gonna set his tail on fire if he keep disrupting my my live stream. All I want is just an hour of just let me do what I need to do. This ain't easy coming out here on YouTube, and that was we gonna push through. So I was thinking about this, right? So the mind is like where word grows. Is the mind is the incubator of words. And it goes from being a word to an idea to a belief. So I have this picture here of the belief being what roots us. We become rooted. And in other spiritual contexts, these beliefs are strongholds, right? It's what keeps us in our position as people, is our belief system. And so the level between the neck and the head, from the neck up, is spiritual. So what's happening in the mind is spiritual, and what comes out of the mouth is spiritual. So although speaking is a spiritual act, it is the release of spiritual seed. So that's why I drew a picture of the ground beginning at the neck. The neck then represents the choice that manifests into outward behavior that creates the evidence or the fruit of what I believe, what my root system, what I'm rooted in. So the things that I'm doing with my hands and my feet, my actions and my walk prove or demonstrate to you the kind of tree that I am. It actually reveals my root system, if that makes sense. I'm hoping that this makes sense where I'm going with this. So after the point of decision that creates my action and that shows you the path that I'm walking, that is all in the physical realm. Those are all things that you can see and you can hear and you can observe in the physical, but it's all pointing to evidence of what is happening underneath the ground in the spiritual realm of my thoughts and my beliefs. I hope this is making sense. Again, I can't even count how many times we as human beings are referred to as trees. Let the evidence show in the book of Psalms, chapter 1, verse 3. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that bring forth fruit in its season, whose leaf also shall not wither. And whatever he does shall prosper. Again, this is showing the relationship between the spirit realm that cannot be seen and the evidence of your life that can be seen. Why words are so important? Because words are proving what is happening in the belief system or in the thought realm, always producing fruit, evidence, actions that can be witnessed and observed in the physical realm, as is described here in Psalm 1 and 3. Another witness, when Yahusha, he touched the eyes of a blind man in this, this is in Luke. I didn't update the verse. Let me get the correct verse. I'm sorry, Mark 8:24 through 26. That's the correct scriptural reference. I did not update it in this slide. So that's Mark 8:24 through 26. So Yahusha was healing the blind man. Yes, at least he is learning to cook. Absolutely, sis. Look, he gotta cook because they'll love me for my cooking. and I don't say that because I believe I can't cook. It's just that, some people are gifted in that area. My strong suit is not cooking. But when I get in the mood, then I do a little something. But yes, I love that he's cooking, and he fried up some mango habanero wings, did some biscuits, and he just burnt some cookies. So I appreciate it. And we're going to make sure that his wife is going to be delighted not to be the only one in the house cooking. Can I get an amen? Hallelujah. So here is another reference, how we can begin to see some of the prophetic language or prophetic pictures related to men and trees. We are referred to as trees. Again, these are just a very small sample where the the scripture is showing us that spiritually we are trees, though we understand trees to be physical. So here's a little sample that I mapped out for us to consider. The kind of things that I hear a lot in the world of people giving up because their spirit has been broken. You have "I love you," which is a life-giving word to speak over your husband, over your wife, over yourself, over your children. But the word that would bring death being the exact opposite of "I love you," right? But there are people who, out of a fit of rage or anger, will look to this person and say out of the same mouth that you just told me yesterday that you love me, tell me today that you hate me. That's how reckless we become with our words sometimes. These words that are seeds, right? I appreciate you. This simple statement will multiply so much goodness in your marriage, in your family, just by exercising a little bit of intentionality to let someone know that you do not take them for granted. Rather than having to hear, and I'm sure all of us have heard this said by somebody growing up, "You make me sick." And that's a statement that gives me cringe on a whole nother level, because you not only expressing disgust to another person, but you also speaking sickness over yourself. I'm anybody who worked close with me can tell you how hyper intentional I am about words. Like I cringe quick if your words are reckless. But these are the things that people say to people that they love, right? People that they care for. They say these things. Many of us here have had these things said to us. Please help me. I'm going in on the ladies with this one. Because if you never seen a woman with her husband ask for her husband's help, this is one of the most difficult things to say to your husband. And when I had to start learning how to say, please help me, the very first time that I received an instruction to go to my husband and ask for my husband's help, as I was saying the words out of my mouth, tears were running down my eyes because that root of pride was being broken over my life, that I did not need him. Because the thing that we say to our men, which we should never let come out of our mouth, no matter how true we believe it is in the heat of the moment, is I can do bad all by myself. That is one of the most wicked things that you could say to a man. And who coined that term as the black girl mantra, but a man in a dress who apparently got some issues with men? I'm just saying. Till death do us part is oftentimes a vow that's given at the wedding. But so many people, after going through the same fight over and over and over again and becoming tired of cycles of conflict and strife, too often turn around and say to one another, I want a divorce. These seeds, they incubate in the mind. The mind is a womb in the spirit realm. The thing that you meditate on, that you heard, that came in through your ears, it grows the more you think about this thing that was said to you. And when you have more weeds of criticism, complaint, attack, name calling, cussing. Oh, don't even get me started on that one. Then that becomes all you can see. Until eventually you begin to speak out of that same place, because these words reveal the things that you've been thinking about, that you've been incubating in your mind, which is your heart. That is why your words reveal what you were thinking all along. That's why I'm not the one to play with. You come to me and you say, oh, you so this. Oh, I'm just joking. No, you was dead serious because it came out your mouth. It's actually a Proverbs that says that. It says, yeah, you acting like it was in jest, but you really did mean it. So I'm going to look past the fact that you laughed because you said what you meant. And the body follows. Again, that picture of the upside down man, that tree growing out of the ground based on that root system, that place where you're rooted in your stronghold, you will begin to act out and walk out the things that you believe. You can't do anything but follow what your beliefs are in word and in action. So when it comes to the D word, and I too am guilty of this. I will be the first one to tell you how many times, again, I've practiced thousands of divorces, y'all. So early on in my practice, I came home with a complete set of documents. Just go get this notarized. I'm done. I'm the first to admit that. Those are seeds that I sowed early in my marriage when I did not understand these things. The word divorce triggers one of the most pervasive fears that we have, and that is the fear of abandonment. The fear of being abandoned is what is triggered by this word. The same person who told me on a good day, I would never leave you and I would never forsake you, threaten me in the heat of the moment with this word. It is an extremely damaging word to sow into the garden. And the roots of this word penetrate so deeply that it may take years to heal the damage. So the best thing to do, if you've never used this word in your marriage, never use it. But if you have used this word, then understand and be patient with the amount of time it may take to heal the damage that was done in the soul of your husband or your wife. Because sometimes that pain, depending on whatever else your husband or your wife have been through in their life that may not have healed yet, it may have done irreparable damage to how they see themselves when it comes to how they think you see them. They might not ever be able to see any good in themselves. So this one is serious, y'all. And it's one that we throw around real loosey-goosey in this culture. It should be forbidden. If any word should be, if any word there should be a funeral for when it comes to our families and our marriages, it is this word. It is a thorn and it is a weed that will choke the life out of your marriage and your anticipation of anything good coming from your marriage. And just to support that conclusion that I just made, Matthew 13:22, once again, this is a passage that says that words are seed. And the seed that comes up amongst the thorns, it cannot become fruitful because it becomes choked. This is the spiritual impact of threatening your husband or your wife with a divorce. And there's this rule that they say people who shoot, right? Y'all people who down with the weapons, what's your rule about a weapon? Don't pull it out if you ain't willing to pull that trigger. If this is where you at, ain't no coming back after you say this. Don't pull this one unless you already done packed up and you ready to go. You've already left. But there is healing. It's never too late to speak life. We can begin replacing the weeds, pulling up the weeds that we've sown in ignorance and anger and bitterness and doubt and fear. We can begin to replace them with words of love and patience and courage, gentleness, kindness. We can. But we also have to be patient with the fact that you can't just say I'm sorry and everything it's just gonna go. That's not how words work. That is not how words work. Because the seed that you plant today, when you realize that you were planting weeds for the past 10 years, well, guess what? It's going to take a couple of seasons before you begin to see some fruit. It might take a few seasons of you pulling up weeds and all of the doubts and the things that you sowed into the mind of another person, your husband, your wife, for this person to start believing in your sincerity and to begin to see themselves differently as far as how they think you perceive them. So that could take a while. And I just want to say this as an encouragement that if you begin to change the seed that you're planting into the garden of your marriage, the words that you're speaking into your marriage, be patient, because it takes time. Just like with growing a physical garden. You do not put a seed in the ground today and tomorrow you have bell pepper or tomato. It don't work like that, right? So why would we expect it to be any different when it comes to the words that we're speaking? Give it time. And this is where I like to, kind of shout out my life coach, Gail. I didn't realize what she was doing many years ago when I first heard her refer to her husband of more than 30 years as Mr. Wonderful. She called her husband Mr. Wonderful. And what she was doing, she was sowing the seed in his mind that she saw him as Mr. Wonderful. And she was also conditioning herself that when he fell short, when he disappointed her, when he got on her nerves, because that's just what husbands and wives do. Sometimes we are aggravating to to abide with. But what she had also begun doing by calling her sweetheart Mr. Wonderful was conditioning herself to only say good things about him, even when she was upset. And so I hope that this encourages you. Y'all done messed around and got quiet on me. And, I appreciate these opportunities just to kind of share and encourage. Go through some comments real quick. No, my baby not going hungry. That thing don't miss no meals. He'll miss no meals. Y'all know I have to blow these up. I can't read that little corner. Calling those things, yes. Calling those things that are not as though they were. Yes, yes, yes. I'm going to use my mouth because right now you showing me trifling and shiftless. Like, I really want to call you trifling. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to call you Mr. Wonderful. Because I believe that is who you are in the depths of your spirit. And I'm going to call you Mr. Wonderful until we give birth to Mr. Wonderful. I love it. Yes, 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 yes. Hey, I appreciate you letting me know I was like giving a presentation to myself. I'm going to do better, y'all. I promise. Yes, right, Mr. Wonderful. And it's so cute, like when I call her and they're getting ready to go somewhere, she was like, "Girl, I'm going out on a date with Mr. Wonderful." They are adorable. If I'm not mistaken, they've been married 34 years. You were wondering how to think of more positive affirmations about your husband when you're talking about him to like I said, Mr. Wonderful, hearing her call him that, and then like knowing how he shows up for her, even though I know he's not perfect. I mean, it's really, really inspiring because that's kind of the way that she's been injecting and infusing words that make him want to show up with his Superman cape for his woman, right? So I love it, and I'm glad that encourages you. So yeah, family. That's all I have for you tonight. I hope that I thoroughly aggravated you and provoked you into doing some introspection, into finding ways to speak more life into your garden. A lot of times People are thirsty just for the simplest things. I appreciate you. That was really sweet of you. I missed you. Like I remember back in the days when we had pagers, right? Man, 123 used to mean I miss you, right? It would be one of the most like heart fluttering pages to get. And then we get into our marriages and we get so used to seeing each other on the schedule and in the routine, we're not always thinking about ways to express small things. I was just thinking about you. A random phone call. Hey, what's going on? I was just thinking about you. I wanted to call you and let you know that I was just thinking about you. These seeds that sow confidence and comfort, feeling accepted, wanted. Who doesn't want to feel wanted? Our words have that much power. So thank y'all for joining me for this conversation. And I, just look forward to knowing that y'all got all kind of mango trees and orange trees. I can tell I'm a Miami girl. I like my citrus. Whatever other kind of trees you like. Papaya, pineapple. Have you a grapevine with some big, juicy grapes? Because you are the one who put that seed inside of the mind. First, your mind, and then speaking that life over the ones you care about and love the most. You snuck a comment in on me. I love that you putting your wife on blast right now, Brother Fast. and he's cracking himself up right now, like as he's doing it. That was hilarious. So with that, yeah, family, I'm looking forward to us making more fruit salad, the good stuff, as a community in our families. Yeah, Brother Fast Nigga was hilarious. And with that, let's do better together, right? And thank you for joining me here at He Say, She Say Family Coach Live. We are no longer able to provide the free mediation that we were doing at first. The time has just become just too restrictive to be able to do that. But we are still working with families in the background in ways that we can. So if you, a loved one, friend, and neighbor need some support, and you know that it's going to be coming from a place of love, from biblical truth and wisdom, to kind of help get a marriage back on track, strengthen a family. Look, I feel better doing the legal work, saving marriages. And so it is very, very meaningful work, getting on the other side of divorce before it's too late, right? That's the confession of this divorce attorney. So with that, thank you for joining me. I look forward to connecting with you next Monday here at Law for Love, the most special place in the legal system in Atlanta. And with that, I love you all and good night.